All right, welcome to this explainer. Listen, today we're completely tearing down the facade of vanity metrics. We're going to use a ruthless insider checklist to evaluate true business health. So whether you're looking to acquire a company, maybe invest in some stocks, or you're a founder taking a hard look at your own operation, this 16-point framework is exactly how professional buyers separate the true resilient assets from fragile liabilities. Let's get into it. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll hit the surface trap, revenue and margin, owner dependence, customer concentration, growth potential, and finally, scoring your business. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the surface trap. You know the biggest mistake I see amateur buyers and honestly naive founders make? It's judging a company's health by entirely the wrong metrics. It is incredibly easy to be fooled by the surface layer. You see a crowded cafe, massive top-line turnover, or just a wildly active Instagram presence, and you instantly assume it's a gold mine. But unfortunately, Instagram likes do not make payroll. A business that looks incredibly healthy on the outside can literally be rotting on the inside. Massive revenue means absolutely nothing if the margins are paper thin, if the whole operation collapses the second the owner steps away, or if one giant client is paying all the bills. Let's look at the stark mathematical reality of why these vanity metrics are such a trap. Imagine a business generating $1 billion in revenue. Sounds fantastic, right? But if operating costs are $980 million, it's really just a busy machine generating a $20 million profit. That is a tiny, fragile 2% margin. Now compare that to a business doing a fraction of the revenue, say just $200 million, but with a 30% margin. That yields $60 million in pure profit. It makes 3 times the money with a fraction of the risk. Category 1, revenue and margin. When the pros look under the hood, these are the 4 non-negotiables they demand to see. First, revenue must be consistent month to month, not just driven by seasonal spikes. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, the profit margin must be over 20% after the owner is paid a fair market salary. So many businesses only look profitable because the founder is basically working for free, subsidizing their own company. Third, we want recurring revenue. And fourth, that revenue needs to be stable or growing for at least 3 years. 1 good year? That's luck. 3 years? Now we have a pattern. To really drive this reality home, just look at the recent bankruptcy of the Indonesian textile giant Sritex. When you operate on razor-thin margins like 2%, the slightest market shock, maybe a small dip in demand or a slight rise in material costs, turns that margin negative instantly. It's a fatal vulnerability. Always remember the golden rule. Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality. Sellers love to show off their top-line revenue precisely because their margins are just too ugly to display. Moving on to category 2, owner dependence. This category evaluates the structural foundation of the business. Basically, can this thing actually survive without its founder? Point 1, the business has to run smoothly without the owner for 2 solid weeks or more. 2, every single process must be documented in systems, not just stored in one person's head. 3, the owner should be working less than 30 hours a week in day-to-day operations. And 4, key relationships cannot be tied personally to the founder. Ask yourself right now, when was the last time you took a real 2-week vacation without a single work emergency calling you back? If your answer is never, we've got a major problem. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we care about that. If every decision, relationship, and skill relies on one person, you're not looking at a business. You're looking at a high-paying job in disguise. Think about a legendary local food stall. It might taste amazing, but if the magic is entirely in the founder's hands, that business dies with them. Compare that to a highly systematized franchise like McDonald's. The recipes and processes are documented. True value lies in systems because systems can be transferred, sold, or inherited. Your personal skills? They can't be. Category 3, customer concentration. This one is all about risk mitigation. We really need to know who is actually paying the bills here. First, no single client can make up more than 15% of total revenue. Second, the business should ideally have a diversified base of 50 or more active customers. Third, new clients must come from multiple acquisition channels. And fourth, high retention, meaning 12+ months. Look, if a massive 60% of your revenue comes from just one corporate client, you aren't an independent business. You're essentially an unofficial department of their company, and one that can be fired instantly without severance. And think this is just a rule for small local shops? No way. Look at the ecosystem around NVIDIA, literally one of the largest companies on Earth. Savvy investors scrutinize them heavily right now because a massive portion of their revenue comes from just a handful of hyperscalers. If just one of those giant clients cuts their spending by 20%, it blows a massive hole in NVIDIA's revenue. Customer concentration is a universal structural risk. It applies to a home business just as much as a trillion-dollar tech giant. Category 4, growth potential. This is where we look at the future trajectory and assess the business's economic moat. A true asset has room to run. 1. It has pricing power, which means you can raise prices 10 to 20% without your customers fleeing. 2. There are clear add-on services you can attach. 3. The doors for geographic or digital expansion are wide open. And 4. The industry itself must be stable or growing. Let's be totally ruthless for a second. If you operate the absolute best cassette tape kiosk in the world, it doesn't matter. A dying industry will eventually sink even the best operators. Out of all 16 points, pricing power is arguably the most underrated. As Warren Buffett famously notes, evaluating a business really comes down to the value it provides. If you raise your prices and customers stay, they aren't paying for a cheap transaction. They're paying for irreplaceable value. A business with pricing power can fight inflation, it can increase its margins, and it can self-fund its own growth. Conversely, a business that only wins by being the cheapest is always on the brink of death. You're just waiting for a competitor willing to price gouge themselves until you both drown. All right, time to calculate your score. Okay, the fast-paced analysis is complete. It is time to tally up those 16 criteria we just walked through, giving 1 point for every criterion met. Here is how professional buyers bracket those results. If a business scores 13 to 16 points, it's fundamentally strong, a true asset. For an acquirer, this is a serious candidate. If the score is 9 to 12 points, it's promising but flawed. Don't walk away immediately, but know there are structural holes. And if the score is 0 to 8 points, leave it. Honestly, no matter how convincing the sales pitch is, the numbers don't lie. A foundation this fragile is a burden for sure, not a business. Now, let me let you in on a little insider secret on how professional acquirers think differently than amateurs. Amateurs see a failed point on this checklist, like heavy owner dependence, as a reason to panic and run. Smart buyers, they see it as leverage. Every failed point has a price tag attached to it, and that price is deducted directly from the valuation. Highly dependent on the owner, the buyer demands a massive discount and a mandatory 2-year transition period. Concentrated clients, the buyer structures the payout so you only get your money if that big client actually stays. Identified risks are the ones you negotiate. Unidentified risks are the ones you pay for in full. And this brings us to the ultimate reality check for any founder watching today. This framework is painful when you apply it to your own life's work. If your score was under a 9, well, you just found the exact reasons why your business feels so exhausting and impossible to scale. But the good news here is that every single point you failed is a clear, actionable roadmap for improvement. Document your processes, diversify your clients, build recurring revenue. So I want you to ask yourself honestly today, have you built a true independent asset, or are you just trapped in a high-paying disguised job?